Hey folks, great question from the community about how can we help convince a product manager that it's time to do some discovery work and move on from more evaluative work. And this is a great question, and I'd respond with a few questions of my own. So what do you feel and what do you know that your product manager needs to convince the rest of the organization about? Is your product manager looking to convince the organization that it's time to stop chasing the competition and trying to do all the same features that they've already done? Is it time for the organization to be convinced that we need to stop being in the red ocean and move over to the blue ocean and be a bit more innovative? Is it time to convince the organization that we need to stop on the features and start working on some bug fixes, some tech debt, some design debt, some user debt? What are the things that your PM is trying to convince the organization about right now? They also might be trying to convince people on the team about things, how to convince them that this is the right user group to be going after, convince them that it's worthwhile to work together on stuff. So think about what are the things that your PM is trying to convince others about right now. Secondly, you mentioned that you have a roadmap for the team, which is awesome. Having a roadmap for the team implies that there are some kinds of discussions that are happening about your roadmap. When are those discussions happening? Who's involved in those discussions? What information is being used to inform the decisions in those discussions? I would work with your PM to find out what the timelines are for that. What information would your PM really appreciate having going into those discussions? And do they need to have it even sooner than that? Because any new information will require some socialization within the group. And so actually the timeline is much tighter than you ever thought. You also mentioned that you don't have a clear hypothesis. And it's really challenging for a PM to prioritize work that doesn't have a clear hypothesis coming out of it. What are they going to get out of it for the team? And so I'd suggest that you think about how can you make this a much smaller ask, or maybe not even an ask at all. So can you reduce the risk and get more clarity around what you're trying to do by perhaps using the 5 minutes of rapport building at the beginning of moderated sessions, using the last 10 minutes of wrap up in the moderated sessions to start getting an inkling about where you're going to be talking about in this discovery work? Could you spend a day shadowing with team members who work with your users on a regular basis? That could be customer success, it could be tech support. There's usually a team whose day-to-day job is interacting with the users, and are you connected enough with them that you can help the PM understand how what they have is information that the team could really use? Other things you could try if you're doing a lot of unmoderated work: an extra projective open end in an unmoderated interview, a comparative question within a survey. But I think that there's a lot of opportunities for you to go smaller instead of bigger. And I really want to suggest that you think about not getting too caught up in your big thinking in the short term, and instead think small, and then you'll have that big impact in the long term. Thanks everybody, have a great day.